Hey everyone, it's good to see you again. Another month of Profiles in Poetry podcast. This is the third episode now, and got some two great guests with us. We got ShenayLaSoul and No Last Name.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for coming. I owe you guys a lot.
Of course.
So, how you guys feeling today?
Feeling good today.
It's been a good Saturday so far.
Yeah,
I was excited for this.
Yeah, it helps that it's not been too hot today.
Oh my gosh, yes. Compared to last week, it's been a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
70, 80 degrees.
Yeah. So, what are you guys most grateful for right now?
Yeah, I can go. One, the weather. Just like the nice Delta breeze coming through. I'm most grateful too for just being here, being alive, just being able to take this breath. I think that we kind of forget that every day. Kind of just forget that this breath is a miracle. So I'm thankful for that right now.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
On today particularly, I'm grateful for one, the weather for sure.
Yeah.
A lot easier to be, proactive when it's not killing you outside. But I'm also very grateful for forgiveness of myself, forgiveness for others, and the pursuit to always grow and improve. Makes it easier to look forward and keep growing instead of looking back. Forgiveness,
It's very real, and I know in my own life, even to this day, I know if I remember correctly, you're 20, and that's growing and learning to forgive yourself and others is not really something. It's just a continuous process.
Yeah.
And how would you guys define poetry?
Defining poetry.
You can go first.
Sorry, I got you. We'll do a little trade-off.
Yeah.
For me, it's like a sonic vibration, I guess. From music to poetry is like a much more direct way that I can express myself, maybe even connect with people, because obviously there's nothing else to listen to but what I'm saying and the way I'm saying it, especially as more of a performative poet. So yeah, I would define it as almost like a certain meditation of sound, just how sound can affect the body, affect the emotions that leads to your behavior and just kind of the energy that you give out. So yeah, I would say it's a communication of energy. I know I changed it 3 times, but yeah.
It's just beautiful.
The thing that comes to mind for me is it's just a medium. I feel like it's a medium for your pain, for your joy, a way to express that in a way that it's a little bit more meaningful than just saying I'm happy or I'm sad, It really gives kind of just like a more broad experience into emotions and also just experiences.
Feel that.
Kind of want to bounce off of that. Would you say being able to get those feelings out is what drew you to poetry, or is there something else?
Yeah, I've always used poetry as sort of like a therapist.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a way to kind of just unearth some of the feelings that I might be having that I can't really explain to anyone else. Especially when I'm not really too sure of them myself. Poetry is definitely, just writing in general, I would say, has just been just a medium for me to get it out and see it on paper and, see if it's real or if it's something that, I can move past.
Yeah. What about you? No last name.
Drew me to poetry, yeah. I'll definitely say trying to process what was happening up here, things that go on in life, trying to be able to, make sense of it. My therapist told me that as people, sometimes we try to make a sense of what happens to us, by trying to make it a story. This happened, that happened, and it turned out like this.
Yeah.
And I think poetry is just one of the most logical ways for me to do that, because you're literally writing it down, and even for me, I try to write it down in the most expressive way possible. What's really gonna how can I say this in a way that's gonna really touch me or touch somebody else and make them feel something. So in doing that, you really have no choice but to really look into depth of what's inspiring you or what life experience you're writing from.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I've been in and out there myself too, and really what stuck with me was when you said, is this real or is this something I can move past? Because growing up, I had memories of my issues, and one thing they always told me is write out your memories and go back through the days like, oh, did this happen, and how did that make you feel?
Exactly.
No, this one, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in on this one. That's I'm more than touched, and then just feeling a camaraderie with everybody here. For me, poetry's catharsis. So I do get rid of a lot of things. So there's very few poems that I have memorized because I'm trying to move on to the next.
True.
And a lot of times, I write to understand what I'm thinking. I have a strong feeling about an opinion or a topic, and I got to get it down on paper to understand even what my thoughts are of it.
Right.
And yeah, a lot of times, what I end up managing to get down on paper is maybe 10 to 20% of what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm great. The older I get, the more grateful I am through the process of that. So,
Right.
wow. Again, that's definitely, I can understand that, and I think we all as writers find that.
Yeah, it's definitely like a release.
Yeah.
I find myself all the time where, like you said, where it's just something in my head that I just got to get out.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just like, I don't know what it is, but I'm just going to start writing.
Mm-hmm.
It might be one word that pops up, and then all of a sudden the page is filled, you know?
Right.
Or it might clarify my thinking. Like,
Exactly.
It's like as soon as something pops in my head that makes me feel something, it's like it's got to go down, or let's just see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's only like one stanza, sometimes it's the whole thing. But
Right.
yeah, you just gotta follow it.
Yeah, I remember when we did the last episode, Diana was talking about that a lot, where she'll just open up her phone's app and probably like one little quick line and another quick line or another, all spread out in all two different poems.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I do that all the time where most of the time it happens when I'm driving.
Yeah, for real.
And it's just like, I'm in autopilot. I'm going to where I need to go, but something has been like in my head, and now it's finally had a chance to kind of pop itself up in the or in the surface, and I kind of have a chance to kind of think about it. And as soon as I get home, or as soon as I'll probably like write down a word or two, but as soon as I get home, like I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, now I know what I was trying to get out.
Yeah.
Once I get to a set place, sometimes I can like, oh, okay, I got to get this off.
It's definitely easier to kind of like know what you want to write it, because there's always something that popping in and out of my head that it'll feel good, it'll feel like something that's inspiring, but I won't be able to process it enough to know like what angle am I trying to get at this at until I'm like either like laying in bed trying to sleep or
Right.
driving, just like because I'm just focused on one thing, or not even focused, I'm just letting my body settle into one activity and not being distracted by all this other stuff.
so do you write that note before you fall asleep?
Sometimes I just won't sleep.
Yeah. Sometimes it's bad because I'll find myself on my way to bed and I'm like having a thought like, oh no,
Right.
it's done. But if I can remember it in the morning, I'll definitely write it down, and I'll just be writing throughout the day. Sometimes it doesn't take me long at all. Like just a couple of weeks ago, I probably wrote like 6 or 7 poems in like 2 days, just because I just was like, had so many thoughts pop up, and I was just on a roll.
I feel it.
By chance, you guys go to the opposite of that, where like you'll be like dead asleep and you'll just wake up and you'll just have like a dream or something that will like, oh wow, I gotta write that down.
Yeah.
I don't dream that much. I know, psychopath behavior. It's the amount of THC that I've consumed has stopped me from being able to have dreams. So I don't dream that much. I do have dreams every so often, and I can remember them. I feel like it's not that I don't have dreams, it's just I don't remember them. Or I'll remember bits and pieces, but for the most part, I do have insomnia, so I'll wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and just be up until I need to be up. And during that time, usually sometimes I'm writing a poem. It's usually, I call them downloads, like, oh, I just got to download, let me write this down real quick.
The dreaming one is definitely, to me, that's always special when I have a dream that connects with me emotionally enough to where I can wake up and, for one, yeah, remember it, but then also like feel something from what I was dreaming about, whether it's like a person in my real life or just something that felt symbolic of something I was going through or feeling at the time. Yeah, if it stands out to me enough to where like I'm thinking about it while I'm awake, then it's kind of like a sign to me, like, okay, let's write it down, or at the very least just like journal it so you can remember it. And then if something else happens later in life or later in the week that reminds me of that dream, then it's like maybe I can connect those dots and like see the full picture. But yeah, dreams are definitely a source of inspiration.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was asking, because I always wake up like in the middle of my, like, it's always 2 a.m. I don't know why. It's just 2 a.m. The dream comes up. That was weird, and I don't think it's worth mirroring. I just let it go. It's something, just write it down. But I want to go off what you were saying a little bit earlier about choosing an angle for your poems. How do you guys go about like choosing topics and themes, if you do?
Sometimes I feel like topics and themes choose me. I don't necessarily try to find topics. Sometimes an idea will just pop into my head, but I usually write about things that I've experienced. So even if it's like an idea, it's usually something that I've been through or I've read about or I'm just like versed in. But yeah, I writer's block, I don't ever really say I have writer's block because it's just like, I know it'll come to me. It's one of those things where it's just like I said, last week I wrote, 10 poems. This week I wrote none. And that's just how it goes sometimes. Yeah. And usually the inspiration just comes just from life.
Finding an angle for it and finding, like, having inspiration sometimes can be separate for me, because like I'm almost always have an idea or something that that's going around in my head that always feels like this is worth sharing, this is worth expressing in some kind of way. But then like that would be an inspiration for me. But then finding the angle for it is where I feel like the writer block will come from me sometimes, because it's like, how do I don't know. There's also a little bit of like critical perfectionist stuff where like you don't want to be too blunt, or you want to say it, you want to find like the best way to say it. But having the concept and having the idea, but not always knowing what angle to come with it, or like what's the best way that I should say this, or even like saying it in a certain way and being like, I don't really vibe with that, I kind of forgot your question, not gonna lie. I was already thinking about
just how you come up with topics.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess the topics are always there. It's just kind of like
how to say it.
How do I say it? Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of experiment. I think that's probably what I experiment with too. Is just like I can get inspiration just from anywhere, or it's already in my head. I just need to figure out how to say it. But I've been I know I have a style or a way of writing to myself, and so now I'm trying to experiment with different styles of writing, doing more storytelling, things like that. Yeah, that's kind of like what I challenge myself to do instead of trying to find topics or things to write about. I know they're already there. I just need to figure out a way to write them, and I want to challenge myself in doing it in a way that I haven't done before.
I feel that. I always find it's easier to, not easy, but it's inspiring to see other styles that are so different from mine when I feel like I'm kind of in a loop of like doing the same stuff and I want to switch it up. You see somebody do it like completely different than how I would do it, and then I'll see something that I never even considered. Yeah, with the style thing, I never really noticed what my style is until I see it from other people. Also, like, my style and even the way I develop these concepts or find that angle kind of just comes from me having that thought and then just kind of talking to myself, just kicking it over, like, if this was a conversation, what would I say? And, like, making it into a conversation with myself, and then I'll find that angle.
So you're saying that you try to find new ways. Did I understand that correctly? Like,
yeah, different styles of writing. So I when I do go to like different open mics, or when I do hear different poets perform, I do take in like, oh wow, that was a different way of saying that. Like, I would have probably said it like this, but I like how they said that. Actually, I was just recently in the Bay, I think it was like last month, but Junie Speaks had a open mic. I think it's at the Vibe Bistro in Richmond. But she had a poet there, Charles, I want to say. Yeah, Charlie. It's Van Gogh. Charlie Van Gogh. That's what it is. I remembered. But he had a really nice way of storytelling in his poetry. And I was like, he really grabbed me. Junie is also a really good storytelling type of poet. I'm more so, when it comes to my poetry, when I first started writing, I wasn't really storytelling because I was trying to keep people safe, protect a lot of people. And so a lot of my poems were just of my feelings, just of how I felt, explaining that and then why I felt that way, just kind of getting out that feeling. So now I'm in a place where I'm more so looking back at those experiences and able to tell them in like a way where it's like more storytelling, but also you get a sense of my emotions when going through that.
Yeah.
Storytelling. I don't think I've ever really tackled storytelling in poetry specifically. I know I have in music. Maybe I have, but it's usually less about the story for me and more like what you were saying about like the emotions. Usually going over how I feel or how someone else feels. So there'll always be like kind of characters, or sometimes when I do a poem, I'll become a character that's for that poem. And that character is usually just based on what my mindset was while I was writing it, or when the inspiration came to me. But yeah, definitely more based on emotion for what I write.
Okay. So you're kind of good little segue into the next question, because you're talking about finding ways to express your emotions. Yourself as a music writer, do you guys feel poetry is a better way to express your emotions than any forms of writing?
Better. I wouldn't say better. I think it depends. I think it depends
differently,
on the person.
I should say.
Different.
Yeah.
It's definitely different. I think comparing it to music, there's a little bit more freedom. Music, there's maybe like different angles you can come in from depending on what kind of, like, if you're the vocalist or if you're the musician or if you're the producer. You could express yourself through the music, through the actual composition of the music, of the instruments, or you could or lyrically, or even like the tone of voice that you have when you're doing your performance. With poetry, it's just the way you say it and what you're saying. So that would be the difference for me. And I think it's a very potent way of doing it too.
I think what I always say is like with poetry, I actually wrote something not too long ago. Let me see if I have it, because it kind of exemplifies this question in a way. But yeah, it's not in this one. I don't think I'm gonna be able to find it.
Just real quick, we do have a chat from Chiose saying, "Yo, look at these two showstoppers." Just real quick, we do have a chat. We are live.
Show you tomorrow.
Live every month.
Let me just see. I'll check one more place and then I'll be done.
While you're looking for that, probably, if you do find it, or if you have another poem you'd like to read, this might be a good time to do that. If you guys want to read you guys' first poems.
Oh, I didn't know we were reading. Well,
Yeah,
I was
if
just
you're
gonna
okay.
say. Oh yeah, I'm totally okay with that. But just to answer that, just to finish that question up. As a poet, I really like that I can move you without a beat. And so that's why I find poetry just a little bit more profound. than most art forms,
Yeah.
just because, yeah, we don't need a beat to really move you, and we're not moving your body, we're moving your spirit too. And so I think that's why I like poetry the most, because it's just powerful like that.
Going off of that, I would definitely say it's to write poetry is a lot more freeing, because when you're doing it with music, you are kind of confined to a certain key, certain rhythm, certain tempo. So it's you can change it to the certain, like, whatever the energy is in the room that you're performing in. Maybe you just feel like people need a certain energy, and you'll switch that energy, and can't really do that often with music,
Right.
Yeah.
It's a more fluid art form for sure.
I can't remember who it was. I know there's what poet in our community says it's about reading the room.
Yeah, it's a
Definitely got to read the room.
Yeah.
You should read the room, but I know a lot of young poets may only have 1 or 2 poems, and those are the poems they're going to share that evening,
Yeah.
regardless who's in the room.
That's understandable.
Very.
And like, I don't, especially when it comes to open mics, I tell people at my open mic where it's just like, whatever you have, just come up. If you feel it in your body, come and get on the mic. I don't shy anybody away, but I also, encourage people to, like, hey, look at the performers who have been doing this, who have been working, and learn from them. Especially if you seek to be better. If that's something that you want to do, definitely learn from people around you.
For sure. I would, I definitely had to learn from the people I was watching. Definitely had to learn. And then, like, when I first started doing this, I was definitely one of those ones that only had, like, the stuff he had on him, But from what I've noticed, like, at this point where I do have more stuff to where I can kind of switch depending on what the mood is, sometimes I'll walk into a place having, like, 2 poems ready, and I'll be like, these are both love poems, I'm going to do these. And then somebody stands up and they do, like, a really, like, hard at your throat kind of poem, and maybe they do one about social justice, but either way, they're, like, really passionate about it. They're, like, really standing on themselves with it. So I'm like, all right, let me switch it up. Let me not get in there some good shit, love shit,
Definitely seen that happen.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I'll have the 2 poems ready. I think it was like a couple weeks ago, and another poet in our community, JC, he came up. He read a poem about his family life, and it just got everyone going.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was over here.
Yeah.
That was a good night.
So, should you guys be down there to read a poem?
Yeah, definitely.
I haven't found mine yet. Did you find one?
Yeah, I can do one. I guess I just chose this one just now because, again, I was going to do another one, but we were talking about, like, characters and angles and stuff that of writing. This is one that I wrote, like, 3 other poems about that was inspired by the same situation that this poem is written about. Those two other poems, like, I was getting it out, but it wasn't the way I wanted it to be. Like, I don't know, it was just kind of like a word dump almost, or just me just getting my stuff out. And it's almost like I had to do those 3 other ones, which I wouldn't say I dislike those poems, but they're not ones that I would ever perform. And they just brought me down to this, which was more of like the sentiment of those poems, or like the reason why those poems invoked me enough to write, like, what was going through my mind or what I was feeling. And then it came down to this. Like, this is like the whittled down idea of it, and just focusing on that idea and not so much of what specifically happened. Those other poems would have been more like storytelling, but this one's more on the emotion. And so it does make me kind of become a character. But I feel like I just did all that explaining, and now I gotta explain what the poem's actually about. This poem's called Try and Try. It's about kind of like toxic masculinity, a little bit of like self-harm, a little bit, just kind of how, like, if you imagine a dude getting in a fight compared to a dude like directly hurting himself. So most people don't see it the same, but the way, at the time that I was writing this, I was thinking sometimes it is kind of the same, because you're feeling very intense emotions and you put yourself in a dangerous situation where you are ending up getting hurt, and what's more is like you're hurting someone else. So it's called Try and Try. It's about masking fragile masculinity, shit like that. It's been harder than a motherfucker to find some motherfucking peace. So let a trifling motherfucker try and try to try me. You know, it's actually kind of funny because when I'm in that position and the adrenaline starts kicking in me, I can't help but get a little giddy thinking about the motherfucker whipping my feet. And really, it's as simple as I said it. And I know what you might be thinking, but no, it's not a fetish. At least I don't think. But see, when my day-to-day is jiving and my mental state is dying, how could I not want a trifling motherfucker to just try it? You know, just to feel that sting, a bell in my headset ring. I was raised to be a hammer, I'm a calamity fiend. Go on and take your best shot. Matter of fact, I'll let you have the first swing. Maybe sometimes it do kind of sound like a kink. Or no? I was hoping that you would laugh at my mass deflection. This masculinity for me is a performative weapon, so I can play it off as a joke of this I'm just that iceberg cold, but not a souvenir. I skated him and wrinkled his clothes, got in a fight and I dove. So the trifling motherfucker would try me some more. I'm getting beat up. What if it gets me out of this hole of regrets I've had from back when I was 6 years old? I got emotions that make me feel weak in moments. So many anxious voices. The torment is relentless. The exterior is defensive, as if the Trojan horse wore a warning sign and barbed wire as a necklace, but hidden in his intestines are soldiers that have been attacked but have no practical defenses. Who react instead of listen, who practice building fences, and attach their passive pain to trifling motherfuckers trying to test him. And so the pain when you touch him is like the blade when he cuts it. Plus he knows no one reacts the same when two grown men start punching, like they just working something out. That's how the boys get down. So instead of wearing long sleeves in the heat, I let a trifling motherfucker try to knock me out. Thank you.
Damn.
Thank you for laughing at that one.
Yeah, that was really good.
I'm gonna steal this for 2 seconds. That's a really good poem because, that's a situation. If I may, just real quick, that's a situation a lot of young men find themselves in, where it's like you don't feel like you want to hurt yourself, but you just want to. You just no longer care about like how you're so clouded by like stress and anger and all these different things and like sadness, you know. And so I really felt, some real shit. So and it was bars.
I appreciate you, man. That's probably the first time I actually really got feedback on that poem. So I actually really do appreciate that somebody connected with it and touched somebody. Thank you.
Sorry.
Oh, no, thank you so much,
That was
Eli.
really strong. Especially just, from a black man's angle. I really appreciate that.
I actually, the first time I performed that was at your TFO.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. I love that so much.
Thank you.
I do have from my book, How Does It Feel? Lonely at the top. This is kind of more so a political one, just because of the current climate. I hope that Palestine is free soon, and the Congo and Sudan. I'm not talking about Palestine or Israel because no one is talking about the Congo or Sudan, and we know why. When it's black bodies, death is normalized. I'm not saying you have to pick a side, but your attention is being monetized and manipulated. They got our emotions high. We don't even notice while they strip us naked. We got our own genocide. They killing us and calling it inflation. Third world pretending to be first world. Just fake it till we make it. Have you seen the state of things? Commercialization and gentrification creating an ostracized generation. It's now acceptable to scam and glorified to put it on Instagram in all of our faces. On the daily, I can't tell what's real or fake. Sexy red and Ice Spice newly venerated, AI generated, and our children assimilated to do whatever it takes to get paid. They killing for social media clout, nobody's safe. They kill just to say they took your plate. Street sweepers now moving trash and people. I guess it's not a problem if you can't see them. I'm trying to free them. I'm trying to free myself. Everybody is on this rat race to wealth, putting their mind and bodies through hell, and most never prevail. Most don't get the chance. The system is set up so someone loses and someone wins. Already a flawed circumstance, but we go along, which is a part of the plan. Assimilate and destroy anything out of the box, criminalize, demoralize the other, and glorify people like Kim K and Krishan Rock. Money doesn't make the world go round, it's slowly making it stop. Like a broken clock, things keep changing. Things keep changing. When you look around, they're really not. Looking around, I start to question what I was taught. What does it really mean to be at the top? Thank you.
Beautiful stuff, you guys. Thank
Appreciate
you so
it.
much.
I love the relevance of yours.
Thank you.
Especially with everything that's going on right now. Everything we're hearing about in the media
Yeah.
is distracting us from what's really important.
And that's what I like. I try to take bits and pieces. I don't really watch the news like that, but I do hear things. I'm not like totally under a rock. So what I do hear, I am able to like take from, you know, history always repeats itself. I was always a big history buff in high school and college. So as I'm watching things, I just see, you know, history repeating itself
Right.
in a lot of ways.
That definitely cues up my next one.
So, kind of go off on, do you mind talking about your book a little bit?
Oh, yeah. So how does it feel? It took me a long time to write, just because I went through a lot from like 2016 to 2021. I was in a very toxic, abusive, physically, mentally, and emotionally relationship. And during that time, I wasn't able to write. And I think that's one of the reasons why I wasn't able to see a lot of things that I was going through. Or that, you know, I was putting myself through just to be able to say I was in this relationship. But how does it feel was me finally putting all that down. It was like my release finally, because I had all of these things in my head, specifically negative thoughts, and a lot of the positive things were hiding underneath them. And so what I needed to do was just release that, get that out, make sense of it all,
Yeah.
and really come back to myself. Because a lot of the negative things, like I said, were doubt, were, you know, just things that I was told in order to keep me down. And I've been conditioned to believe. So a lot of it was just unconditioning myself and also proving to myself that I could do it. So when I was thinking of the title, How Does It Feel? I wanted exactly that. Like I wanted not only myself, but also other people to ask themselves, like, how does it feel? Because sometimes just asking yourself that question can help you get through whatever it is that you're going through. I think that that's one thing that I was lacking during that time, is I wasn't asking myself how I felt, what was going on with me. I was so worried about everything on the outside that I wasn't concerned with what was going on in the inside.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to just put that down on paper. And so a lot of these poems just have to do with that time, what I felt, what I went through, not really in a storytelling way, just because, you know, like I said, I was still protecting people at a time and just mostly trying to focus on healing me. And so I didn't want to put a name to a face or, you know, put anybody on blast. Like, yeah, I'm saying you, but I'm also, I feel like it's so broad and so many people have had that experience. You could be anybody.
Yeah.
And so when people listen to me perform or read my poems, I want them to be put in those shoes. So they know that if you ever feel like this, if you ever go through something like this, don't. You don't have to. You are strong enough. You are capable. And so a lot of it is just that, what is that? Reinforcement, that positive reinforcement.
So when you're putting it together, did you find yourself doing a lot of revisions, or since it was a big part of your soul, is that something you're
This one, not so much.
Okay.
My second book, I'm definitely doing a lot more revision, just because I want it to be read the same way I say it. So what I'm finding in this book is, like, a lot of this, like I said, it was a release. So even trying to edit it is kind of hard, because I always have to put myself in that place. And that's why I used to tell people too at open mics, is like, that's one of the hard things about reading these poems now, and I kind of shy away from them and I read new poems, because I always have to revisit that moment.
Yeah.
And I don't always like to just revisit that all the time.
No.
And it's not that I'm not healed from it or that, you know, it still hurts. It's just, I don't want to be remembering it all the
Yeah.
time, especially because I have moved on. And it was, for me, it was, so, it feels like it was like decades ago at this point, especially where I'm at now.
That that's very. I feel the same way about my poetry too. But I was gonna ask everybody here if I've always I do haikus, so I always describe my poetry like emotional postcards. So I can go back and look at it, and I can remember what I was feeling.
Right.
I think that's part of what I find about poetry is that it deals with a lot of emotions, and we as poets, or what I try to do is sometimes is try to understand them or at least describe them. So yeah, but I could definitely pick up something from years ago, and might not be in that space, and it won't read well. I won't be able to perform well, but I know what I was feeling when I wrote it.
Yeah.
And moved past it. So
I'm still at the point where, you know, with some of my poems, if I close my eyes, I can still see the
Yeah,
exact
it's an
place and
emotional
time
postcard,
I was writing them, and so it's just like, yeah, I rather not sometimes, but sometimes I'm just like, you know, reading the room. Maybe I do need to read this one tonight.
Yeah.
So it just depends.
That night he was talking about, I almost performed this one poem that, like you said, like puts you right back in that space. And it's like, I've healed from it, but it's still like, you know, like a scar can heal, but there's still a scar right on that spot of your skin. Sometimes you don't want to stare at that shit. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, even
It's still a reminder.
it's still a reminder. I usually like to memorize my poetry, but there's every now and then there's some poems that to get in there and read it consistently enough to memorize it. It's like, I don't know if I want it, you know.
Yeah.
And some of these poems I choose not to memorize. I feel my husband gets at me all the time. He's like, you know I would be a better performer if I did memorize all of my poems, but some of them I don't want to perform. I feel like they're better read. I do have some where I have them memorized and I can perform them, but yeah, not all of them, and I don't really wish to. And then some of them I can't. I feel like they weren't mine. I say this in one of my poems, like I said, they're downloads. I feel like sometimes I was just writing down, I was used as a medium for these words, so I can't really memorize these.
Yeah.
Memorization. I mean, it comes with, I don't know, for me it's like a performative thing.
Yeah.
But like you said, like not all poems are meant to be performed.
Mhm.
Sometimes, I mean, do you guys ever write poetry and it's like, this is for me? Like this was
Yes, most definitely. A lot of these poems were just for me, but as I was writing the book, I just felt like, yeah, a lot of these poems have to be in here, so I can finally just let them go. Clear my phone out, put it in a book,
Send it on.
send it on. You know, it was kind of like it was almost like a celebration of life. Like, you know, I appreciate you for your time, but yeah, it's time to move on.
Yeah, you gotta go.
Definitely. You host TM Poetry, and before you started that, was there any open mics you were hitting a lot?
Actually, Luna's, yeah, I had been to Luna's. Mahogany's was actually my first open mic that I had been to ever. And then right after that, I did Penny for Your Thoughts. That used to be at Soul Collective with Dre T. Shout out Dre T. I also, I feel like there was another one that I went to. Oh, Top Ohm. So the Oak Park Open Air Open Mic. That was in 2016 to like 2018. But they would pop out at different places in Oak Park. And so it was like an outdoor open mic.
Nice.
Shout out to Dante Pelayo for that one.
I have not heard that name in a while.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been doing a few open mics over the past years. But you know, during that time when I was in that relationship, and especially after I had my youngest son, I wasn't really doing a lot of open mics. I wasn't really doing a lot of writing. I would write in my head a lot, but as far as putting it on paper, I never felt physically or emotionally safe enough in that space to do that. So I didn't really do a lot of writing. But when I did start writing again, it was like just an overflow of just poem after poem after poem. But I didn't get to really perform at any other open mics. Trying to think. Yeah, I really couldn't catch any open mics because most of the open mics were during the week. And so that's what kind of prompted me to make Tea and Poetry, because I wanted a weekend open mic, and I also wanted to bring kind of like a different vibe to my open mics, kind of one that was exhibited at the Oak Park Open Air Open Mic. I wanted to highlight different businesses, but I also wanted to kind of move around. Right now we're kind of stationary, but I do wish and hope to move around and kind of highlight especially Black businesses in the area by bringing them tea and poetry. But I'm trying to think if there's any other open mics I can holla. But yeah, I really love doing open mics because it gives you a chance to see different talent and get those different ideas, and also just get a different perspective. And I love getting different perspectives on things.
Yeah.
What about you, no last name? I know you get to learn to a lot of open mics right now.
Yeah. That's mainly where I'm sharing my poetry at right now. Is open mics at the first one I went to in SAC was Sacramento Poetry Center open mics, and then what like really made me catch attention at that place was the youth open mics with Goon the Poet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just be going there every Monday, and then I've my friend Cho, shout out Cho, put me onto the CSSB open mics with Corey, and so you know it's Monday, Tuesday, and then on Thursday, Self Design, they have theirs like every other Thursday, every second Thursday. Shout out.
That's another one I've been to. Yeah, Self Design art gallery.
Yeah. Shout out Self and Love. They're the managers of that business. They're great. Personally, like one of the I think maybe one of the most potentially like influential Black businesses in Sacramento. So that's Thursday, and then also on Tuesdays I started going to Golden Bear, and then like those are usually pretty consistent, so I'm able to do those like every week.
Yeah. You mentioned a lot of names, but is there any other names you can think of, like any names and faces of people in our community who's been sticking out to you?
Oh yeah, maybe I'm biased because I've also gotten in. Nah, I won't say that. They're actually really great artists, and I've seen like other people love them and show them so much love and appreciation. I know Cho again. I gotta shout out Cho. She's really making movements in the poetry community in Sacramento.
Oh, yeah.
She's hosting actually an open mic coming up soon, and she's also she's got her workshops where she's actually teaching. She taught me plenty of stuff like I didn't even know, like all the technical sides to poetry really. Which also leads me to Daniel at Sac Poetry Center. He also was hosting his things. He's also taught me a lot of like the technical sides of poetry, like the more textbook stuff.
Yeah.
My boy Josh too. He's gonna be opening for me on this this event that I'm doing on the 7th at Self Design, 7th of next month. But yeah, he's opening for me. Josh Incognito. He goes by Incognito. He's been here a couple times. He's great. Yeah, he's a great artist.
So when's your feature?
On the August 7th.
Okay.
I'll be hosting that night, but I wish you well with that.
Oh, you're on.
Yeah, I'm doing August 7th now.
Oh shit. On Wednesday. What time?
8 to 10.
8 to 10. Okay, we can make it. I can make it to yours.
Okay.
Yeah, I can make it to yours.
Has there been anyone who's stuck out to you at Tea and Poetry?
A lot of people. I really, we already shouted out shout out to Cho, but Raya in the Sky, really love her performative voice. She's really dynamic. I also love Honey No Mind 916. She's also the host of ShenayLaSoul. Really great platform there. Also, I can't remember her last name. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. But let me see. I'm not even spelling it right. Oh, Miss Camille Janae. Yes,
yeah,
Camille
yeah.
Janae. She's really awesome. I really love her performances. She definitely inspires me to pick up my game on my performances because I read from my book on my phone. Just anybody really who comes to tea and poetry, I kind of just like have a penchant for, just because I feel like to get on that mic, it can be a little intimidating. I know that, you know, when some people come in, they're just like, oh, I don't know, like I might get on, I'm not really, but you know, as long as like, if you're able to by the end of it say like, oh man, I was inspired, like, okay, like that was really cool, like I'm gonna take a look at your page, I'm gonna check out your stuff. So yeah, I don't have like too many favorites, I would say, but yeah, those are some names that pop up.
So, which role would you say poetry plays in Sacramento?
I wish it played a bigger role. I know we have the Sacramento Poetry Day. I know that needs to be highlighted more. I wish there was just a little bit more highlight to that and just funding towards that, because I feel like they do a lot for the youth, especially. And like we said, poetry really is like a medium. It's a release. It's a type of therapy. And kids could really use that, especially writing workshops where they learn to write or learn to, you know, get their feelings out in a different way other than, you know, what they're used to. I think that could be very, you know, beneficial to Sacramento as a whole.
Just because you mentioned workshops, I gotta also shout out my friend Star Reloaded. I met her.
Yeah, shout out Star.
Yeah, I'm sure.
She's
y'all
also another one of my favorites.
Yeah.
She's really dope.
Can I ask you?
Leah 444. She's also another one.
You recently did a collaboration piece with Jamie.
Jamie, yeah.
Yeah. How did that
Jamie,
come
yeah.
about? That was a match. Just I'm always odd when I see two poets get together.
Yeah.
And put something together. Put the time in.
Yeah. So shout out Jamie, of course. What really I think what kind of like drew us to each other was that we both have our writing background started in music. So then you can kind of see that style bleeding through when we read our poetry. So that was definitely one thing that made it like let's bounce off each other, you know. Like it just kind of sharpening each other throughout that whole writing process. So I just asked her like, would you like to write a collab poem? And we just met up and we were just kind of bouncing ideas around. That was definitely probably one of the most like fluid, just like straightforward, collaborative writing experiences that I've had with another artist.
Yeah. No. Major kudos. Like I was just this guy. My face was like. Wow.
Glad you guys liked it. It was definitely more of an affirmation piece. We were able to kind of like, you take this angle of the concept of like overcoming struggle, adversities, even generational things that, you know, Black families go through.
That's cool.
You take like you take the sad side of it, I take the overcoming side of it, and we clash together and make it, you know.
Have you to perform at other places?
Self-Design Art Gallery at on their open mic Thursdays, and then here, yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's very cool.
Thank you for reminding me about that.
It stood out.
Oh yeah, you don't see that very often. So when people do it, it's just so inspiring to see. Like that's what this whole thing is about: is coming together as a community and, you know, working as opposed to a collaboration piece or something like this, and just, you know.
Right.
I think that's definitely one role that I feel like poetry kind of plays in the community. I definitely agree that I wish it played a bigger part in Sacramento. But also there's so many, like there's pretty good mixing pot, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
you can meet up, do like what they call it, visual poetry, artists, like musicians and stuff, like, you know, rappers, singers, they meet up and they all come to this space, musicians, and everyone dibble dabbled in writing at least at one point.
Yeah.
You might not have like really let yourself grow in that space that much, but if you have something, you come in, you share it, and it's just such like an open community. So I think it's a good place for people to just come, mix, and see what happens.
So kind of want to go off that. What do you guys have any advice for aspiring open micers? Like anyone who wants to come out for a first time and check it out?
Just come out. Just get out there. I think you did a good job of just finding like your schedule. Like, oh, this is on Mondays, this is on Tuesdays, this is on Thursdays. Like, that's how I was when I first started doing open mics. Like, just finding all the open mics that are out there and just checking them out. You'll find your kind of like niche, because they're all kind of different. And so I just feel like you said, the poetry community here is so loving, and there's just so many different pockets of people and different events and just communities of people doing poetry or songwriting. And so that's really beautiful if you can find, you know, your place in one of those groups.
Yeah. Definitely just like have that relentless, just keep showing up every week. Somebody will notice you. Some like very specific advice I would give is there might be a place that you go to, that you frequent to like very often, but it's good to mix
Branch
around.
out.
Branch out. Don't get too comfortable in one place. Also, sometimes people start to like you and notice you, and then everything you do there is because they know you and they like you, you know. But you gotta go to other places, see how it does in another space with people that aren't familiar with you.
On that, have you read poetry in other cities?
Yeah.
Merced, yeah.
Nice.
Hosted events out there. Other cities. Sacramento's definitely the one where I started doing poetry, you know. Yeah.
It's so different. It's so different when you go to a new room or a different
Yeah,
city.
I will say I love going to the Bay and seeing the poets out there, seeing the open mics. It definitely is a different vibe. Oh, excuse me. Just specifically, I met a lot of just storytellers. I feel like they have more of a storytelling, like I don't know, gene out there, where each of them kind of has a story to tell, and they just do really well telling that story.
I heard there was a place in I think Berkeley that was kind of like Mahogany kind of.
Oh, you know, there's so many, and that's the thing too, is I wish there was a way to highlight all of the different open mics that are happening in Sacramento like they do, because I know that, you know, whenever I do find any of their open mics, it's super easy to find. It's a little bit harder out here.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's a little bit harder.
Gotta do some stone turning.
But I mean, from word of mouth though, that's one thing that SAC is good for. Like, if you ask somebody will tell you, or they'll know who you can talk to.
Yeah.
Everybody knows somebody.
It's kind of what life and career's about. It's about who you know.
Yeah, and I mean, with like one of the things that I'd seen like this in action is with tea and poetry, is because I mean, most of you guys heard about it from word of mouth from somebody else, you know. Yeah, so I always thought that was really cool. Just like, yeah, that's how SAC is.
So we're crunching down on time, but before we kind of start wrapping up, would you guys be down to read one more poem?
Yeah.
Of course. Would you like to go first this time?
Yeah, let me see. This one, I wanted to kind of find one that kind of summed up the book, but this one kind of exemplifies it enough. It's called Scars. Time heals all wounds, but the scars remind us of what we survived. My scars will remind me of how hard I fought to stay alive. This is my season of receiving after years of me giving so much of myself. In 5 years, I lost most of my wealth and put my health in jeopardy. Today, any weapon formed against me ain't sweating me. I stopped hoping and wishing and started manifesting. Focused my mind on my passion and my destiny. I know the Most High and my mama always protected me. I have to give me all that's left of me. I heard my calling, but put it on hold for people who left me out in the cold. These are not poems. These are downloads that I received from the Most High. It's hard for me to memorize because these words are not mine. They come from my mama, they come from her mama, and her mama too. I'm just the messenger, the medium, linguistically gifted, jaws made of titanium, known to bite, depending the side of the line you stand on. You may be tempted to switch sides once I'm done. I thought the sky was the limit, but it's only the beginning. I woke up this morning, so today I'm winning. Thank you.
I always like when I hear a poem from someone and it kind of like reflects things that I've heard them speak about.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely heard, yeah, I like that. So like I was saying, the first poem that you shared earlier made me think about this one a lot and want to do this one. It's called Long Live. It's just kind of, it's based on a conversation I had with a friend, and we're just going back and forth about all these things we care about, things that we always like have an opinion on, things that we wish would change or get better, and just kind of realizing like there's on one hand like there's really not much you can do about it, and on the other hand like they'll outlive us regardless of if we pay attention to them or not. So it's like, and then that brought up the question of like how can we influence those things, but that's not what this poem's about. It's just about all the things that we care about that will outlive us. So this poem's called Long Live. Long live peace, long live longevity. War seems to live longer than anything that breathes. Long live resilient mamas, long live self-righteous fathers, long live the failures that attempt but only bother. Long live the memories of my brother, long live the black square, long live temporary sentiment, long live those who never cared. Long live the overlooker of what's become of the world today, long live the dreamer who carries faith for tomorrow. Long live a leader's false promise of a wall to divide the land he borrows. Long live the space between understanding and tolerating that keeps us separated. Long live my locked hair, may my mane never be labeled dreaded. Long live Dr. James and the king giving reek to us still tender-headed. Long live the freedom of love, long live love with whoever your heart wants, no matter what walk of life you're from. Long live every woman, person, and man that can truly have their heart broken again, and again, and again, and again. Long live broken trust, long live lovesick poets, long live heartbreak poetry, may your potency outlive me. Long live lovers lost that temporarily occupied my mind. Long live the ones who cared and dared to try. Long live whoever needs that presence in their lives. Long live the memories of a grandchild's life. Long live his grandmother who wrote about it before his time. Long live the civilians that died. Long live this short attention span of mine. Long live the national superpowers and the truth they try to hide. Long live Palestine. Long live the fallen. Long live today's news is tomorrow's problem. Long live Clinton's attempt, I guess the effort's uneventful. Oslo Accords fell short and his letters failed to mention one thing, that war seems to live longer than anything that breathes. Long live those who died standing and couldn't live on their knees. Long live the fear that keeps us in line with whatever narrative the powers please. Long live the child in my heart that still climbs trees. Long live the parts of life unsacrificed to fit in with the world's design. Long live every artist told they weren't really living right. Long live the dreams we have all day awake and make us stay at work all night. Long live whatever comes after life, be it silence or light. Long live the wrong and long live the right. Long live our songs and the lyricists who write. Long live life, the only group with no opposing sides. Long live what is. Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Powerful.
Yeah.
So I did find just that two pieces, that one. It says, I'm a poet. That means I don't need music. These words hit like a beat. And while you sit through it, your mind can't keep still. Pulsating through your body, your spirit is dancing. And your soul is hearing something it can feel.
Yeah, very nice.
Thank you.
So, if there's one wish you could have, no strings attached, what would it be?
That's a tough one.
Very.
I actually knew this one when you asked it. But one wish that I do have is to move to a place where me and my family can truly be free.
probably gonna like think of something. Like I'm gonna think about this more on the way home. Like, damn, I should have said that. But right now I'm thinking. I wish. How do I say this? I wish. I wish moving forward was maybe a little bit less challenging, and I wish having more, I'll say, confidence in my decisions was a little easier, just like a in the moment decision type of thing. Yeah,
You want to be more sure.
for sure.
I can dig it.
I can do that wholeheartedly too.
You got to ground yourself, anchor yourself to something.
Believe in something. Yeah, thank you.
I think that's episode 3. Thank you guys so much. The last
Thank
name,
you.
ShenayLaSoul.
Appreciate you.
It's so much fun doing this with y'all. But before we go, just a couple things. Our next Thursday, I believe, is when our submissions close for the inaugural GTFO poetry.
Yeah.
So please submit if you're still time. We're not going to close it until probably right before midnight. But more important than that, speaking on our community, one of our great poets, she was on her first episode, The Coldest Winter. She could really use our help right now. She's been struggling with homelessness with her son. And there's a GoFundMe. She's posting about that. And I'll post that in the description of the video if anything helps. Seriously. And love all of you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you guys.